Welcome everybody. Today I'm talking about chemtrails. Some people believe they don't really exist. However, they actually do exist. And in 1997, there was a court case that actually challenged the legality of chemtrails, and they lost. And from that point, chemtrails are not only exist, but are legal. 2010, Gabriel Cousens from House of Representatives from Ohio tried to outlaw them to a certain extent, and it didn't succeed. So they do exist. My point today is not to talk about it in terms of any sort of conspiracy. They exist, and as a holistic physician, the question is what to do. Well, to know what to do, you kind of have to know what you're dealing with. And from the best of the research I can get, including some of the NASA papers, is that the chemtrails affect us physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Spiritually to the extent that it's a subtle level of mind control that weakens our ability to express our full beingness and makes us more likely to be enslaved. Not too different at some level than what the Germans did in the concentration camps by giving people fluoride. And we know today from all the research, such as at Harvard, that fluoride decreases your mental capacity and your spiritual willpower. That being said, we are looking at chemtrails and what to do. Well, first we have to see what's in them. So chemtrails, generally speaking, have about 9 components, and it varies from time to time and location to location. But basically they have aluminum oxide, which contains certain frequencies and is a poison, particularly for the brain, but for the whole system, and it reflects scalar wave technologies. So once it's inside us, it amplifies scalar wave technologies. Then comes barium oxide, which is very similar in terms of its effect and its scalar wave technology reflections. Then we have the dibromides, ethyl dibromide. What that is a actual physical poison. It's one of the top 12 poisons. It's illegal in every country in the world but United States and one other country. And it displaces proper iodine, not only out of the thyroid, but out of the whole system at every level. So it's an issue, okay? Now, we go from there and we look at, there are also a certain kind of strange pathogen called morgellons, and there's about four species that are put in here. And the morgellons acts to, once it's inside, if you're one of those unlucky 5% who can't have an appropriate immune response, it can actually dissolve you, your tissues, your hair, your skin. The other 95% aren't affected, but what morgellons does is actually creates a certain light beam that kind of sends back to some tracking device that tells us how we're doing internally. It also, the scalar wave technologies can use it to send a certain amount of frequencies into the body. So, morgellons. Now, there are also what we call mood chips, and they call it kind of a dust that they talk about, and it's not a good dust. But these mood chips, again, almost they're microscopic in size, and they affect our consciousness, and that they're actually robotics. And in a sense, a negative transhumanism because they again affect our consciousness. And so mood chips are an issue. Now, those are some of the main components to the whole thing. Now, what to do? And the good news is there's a lot we can do. In addition, I'll say that different pathogens, bacteria, viruses, and fungi are also added to this, as well as certain radioactive frequencies, including thorium. And the radioactivity that comes down as these chemtrails come down, they pick up a certain amount of radiation. There's a very sophisticated weaponry, and it is connected to HAARP, which has the ability to ascend frequencies that affect every level of our being, and most importantly, our spiritual awareness. So that being said, what to do? Well, the Russians have shown that silver is very, very good for killing about 98% of viruses and bacteria and fungi. So we use a certain amount of silver, and I've actually developed a pack. And in it there's the silver, and you take about 2 ounces a day. In general, it's going to protect you from not just chemtrails, but most bacteria, viruses, and fungi. So actually, it's a really good thing. So, and that silver is called Argentum 23. The next is I use a super oxygenated water, which is programmed with all the scalar wave frequencies. Therefore, it can nullify the scalar wave technology, which is approximating scalar wave frequencies, but nowhere near as potent or as powerful as true scalar wave frequencies. And this superoxide water has all the frequencies and therefore can nullify the frequencies from all of these things. That's really important. And we take about 1 or 2 ounces a day of that. The next that is important is Rad Neutral, radiation neutralization. And it has the ability not only to nullify different radiation frequencies like thorium and other radiation frequencies that are put into the chemtrails, but it also can nullify the effects of the mood chips. Remember, the mood chips are nanoparticle chips that we take in. Along with mood chips, there are synthetic polymers and also synthetic RNA. All of these are designed to have control from outside the body that can control our mind and control our body and health. Now, I want to be clear, it's not like you're a robot and they can dial something and make you act a certain way. It degrades your independent thinking, your independent spirit, but it's not, it works more slowly. So it's having its effect over time. The chemtrails are done in every country in the world except China, Cuba, and certain places in Central America, so such as Nicaragua. So it's worldwide. So everyone is being affected by it. So I'm making a point here, but going back to it, we are looking about how do we nullify the mood chips, which affects our consciousness, affects our thinking. And the Rad Neut is part of the kit that I've put together to nullify these as well as general radiation. Okay. Now, in addition, I use a certain amount of scalar salts. And this is a special salt, not sodium chloride, okay? It's got at least 82 minerals. Salt holds the frequency of the earth in different, in this case, from 4 different places, from Peru, in the Andes, from Hawaii, a special kind of salt that's there, and also from Utah and the Himalayas. And those salts create a protective vortex. They improve our cellular communication or cellular organization. So with these inputs like moon chips and aluminum oxide and ethyl dibromide that disrupt these things, these salts help ground us and enhance healthy cellular communication. That's really, really important. So, and what I do with that is I suggest there's a special way of taking it, which is you put like 1/8 of a teaspoon on the tip of your tongue, which affects the heart, and you put that up to the roof of your mouth and connects the central meridians, and then you follow that with a glass of water. You can do that maybe about 4 times a day. So that's a very, very helpful thing to do. Another thing that's extremely important is a product called Aluminium. Aluminium is I2 breaking down to I minus. It is scalar wave activated. It forces out the bromide, which is a real poison. And it is the only thing that I'm aware of that kills the Morgellon pathogen. Okay, so that's actually a really important thing too. So we use the aluminum now. It does force out heavy metals, which are also in these chemtrails. Lead, mercury, and cadmium, to a certain extent, are being forced out. If too much comes out at once, we cut back on the aluminum, and we also take a little bit more of the scalar salts. Now, if you're on thyroid medication, you'll want to be a little bit careful with it. But what I generally recommend is start at 3 drops a day in a glass of water, 3 times a day. See how you do after a few days, and you can increase it to 5 drops, and then increase it to 10 drops, and see how you do with it. And we recommend about 15 drops 3 times a day. The only warning is if you're on thyroid medication, it would be a rare thing, but it could be a problem. So just be thoughtful about it and see how you do with it. I'm not recommending it as a thyroid treatment. I'm recommending it as a way of protecting you against chemtrails, and in particular, as I said, it forces the bromine out of the system, which is a poison, and it also kills Morgellon. It's the only thing we know that kills Morgellons. But that's important. I use one more thing, is natural cellular defense, which is a zeolite, and you really take 15 drops 4 times a day, and that zeolite nullifies most of the heavy metals that are in it, and pesticides and herbicides. So it pulls those out of the body in a gentle way. So that's the total approach. Now, again, the idea is to protect ourselves from the level of toxins in the chemtrails. And I've mentioned the different levels, but and perhaps the most important thing is the fact that the chemtrails are used in essence to affect or to amplify the power of heart as it affects our consciousness and our physical, emotional, and mental health. So that's the bigger picture. Now there's one more thing we do, which is very, very important. We have been gifted by the divine with our cells becoming a true scalar wave energy. Now, that's good news. True scalar wave energy. And I'm going to lead you through a visualization that can activate our scalar wave energy potential. And when we do that, the true scalar wave potential of who we are, when activated, will override the scalar wave technologies that are being used against us. That's really good news. We do that every day for a few minutes, and we are creating a very, very powerful way of doing it. Now, one thing about scalar wave weaponry, which is not true scalar wave, is it creates a feeling as if we're upright, but we're actually slanted. It takes us off center of the truth of who we are. True scalar wave technology connects us to the divine at the highest level. One metaphor I use is the tree of life, because the tree of life is a symbol of enlightenment. But the tree of life goes all the way to the heavens and above the heavens to the point prior to creation, the nothing and the everything. So we use that metaphor. This is really the most powerful thing we have as human beings in general with all this going on. So in addition to our scalar, our chemtrail pack, which protects us against the scalar wave technology, that's what we just talked about, and we will list it at the end of this, so you actually have it in a list so you can deal with it, and that is available. We do sell it at the Tree of Life store, and so you can have that. But this is the key. In addition, and this is becoming a true scalar wave energy. So we visualize now this scalar wave light, pearlescent, iridescent light coming down and going around the planet. It's a cosmic light from prior to the beginning, point 13, we call it 0.13 from the source, and then coming up through the root of the earth, into the crown of the earth, and then through our root, activating the thymus and pineal gland, and then going back through our crown. Now, at the same time this energy is going on, other scalar wave, true scalar wave energy is coming down and comes down through our crown, pineal gland, thymus, through our root into the earth. There are two particular places as these interface, which is the pineal gland and the thymus, where the energy is transformed and allows us to be activated as true scalar wave beings. So on the inhale, we're taking in the light coming in through the crown, pineal, thymus, through our root, and around the earth, coming up through our root, thymus, and pineal. And at those 2 points, thymus and pineal, on the exhale, we are sending out a true scalar wave resonance, which we've become, which starts vertically but then moves horizontally to really include not only us but the whole living planet. That's the visualization. If we do that short visualization every day, we are activating our true scalar wave potential, which is fantastic. I mean, in general, it's fantastic, because that takes us into the metaphor of the tree of life and takes us in ultimately to the energies of the divine and prior into full enlightenment, the nothing and the something. So may you be blessed with these teachings to protect you and ultimately to enhance you from the chemtrails, so we become full, enlightened, scalar wave beings. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om